The alarm started screaming at exactly 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, which was ironic because Tuesdays were supposed to be slow at Westside Bank. I was helping Mrs. Chen with her savings deposit when 3 men in masks burst through the doors, guns raised. Everyone on the ground, now. My training kicked in. Rule 1, comply with robbers. Rule 2, don't be a hero. Rule 3, survive. I dropped behind my teller window, hands visible, heart hammering. Mrs. Chen whimpered beside me, and I reached out to squeeze her hand reassuringly even though I was terrified myself. "You," one of the masked men pointed at me. "Open the vault." "I don't have access." "Don't lie to me." He grabbed my arm, yanking me up. His grip was bruising, his voice rough. "You're the senior teller. Open it or people start dying." That's when everything went sideways. The front doors burst open again, and a man in an expensive suit strode in like he owned the place, which technically he might have. He was tall, dark-haired, moving with the kind of confidence that came from never being told no. His eyes swept the room, landing on me being manhandled by the robber, and something dangerous flickered across his face. "Let her go," he said, his voice calm but carrying an edge that made my skin prickle. "Who the hell are you?" The robber's gun swung toward the newcomer. "Someone who doesn't appreciate armed men in his bank." The stranger stepped closer, and I noticed he was positioning himself between the robbers and the civilians. "You have 3 seconds to leave before this becomes a problem." "Your bank," the lead robber laughed. "You're Alexander Sterling." Recognition hit me like a freight train. Alexander Sterling, billionaire CEO, venture capitalist, and owner of half the commercial real estate in the city, including, apparently, this bank. "1," Alexander said calmly. "We're not leaving without." 2. The robbers exchanged glances. Something was wrong with this scenario. Real robbers didn't hesitate. Real robbers didn't seem nervous when their mark walked in unarmed. 3. Alexander moved. Fast. He grabbed me, pulling me against him just as gunfire erupted. But the bullets weren't aimed at him. They were aimed at the wall behind us, at the security cameras, at anything that might record what was happening. "Stay down," Alexander ordered, his arm like iron around my waist. Then louder, "I have a hostage, everyone stay back." "Wait, what?" "What are you doing?" I hissed. "Saving your life." His voice was low, urgent, his breath warm against my ear. "Those aren't bank robbers, sweetheart. They're assassins. And they're not here for money, they're here for me. So unless you want to be collateral damage, play along." Before I could process this information, he had a gun. Where had he gotten a gun? Pressed loosely against my side, his other arm around me in what looked like a hostage hold but felt strangely protective. "Everyone out," Alexander shouted. "Now or she dies." The civilians scrambled for the exits. The robbers looked uncertain, their script clearly not accounting for this development. In the chaos, Alexander moved us backward toward the vault, using me as a human shield while somehow keeping his body between me and actual danger. "What's happening?" I whispered. "My business partners aren't happy with my latest acquisition. They've decided murder is more cost-effective than a buyout." He kicked open a door marked employees only. "The robbery was cover. They needed chaos to get to me. But if I have a hostage, they can't kill me without killing you, and that changes their risk calculation." "You're insane." "Probably. What's your name?" Emma Cole." "Well, Emma Cole, I need you to trust me for the next 10 minutes. Can you do that?" I should have said no. Should have screamed, fought, done something. Instead, I looked into Alexander Sterling's eyes, steel gray and completely focused, and found myself nodding. "Good girl." He pulled me into a back corridor, moving with the confidence of someone who knew exactly where he was going. Behind us, I heard the robbers shouting, pursuing. Alexander's hand was steady on my waist, his gun raised but not pointed at me despite the act. "The vault," one of them called. "He's going for the vault." "There's a service exit," Alexander murmured, steering me down a hallway. "Leads to the parking garage. My car is." Glass shattered behind us. Gunfire. Real gunfire, not the warning shots from before. Alexander shoved me through a door, covering my body with his as bullets tore through the wall where we'd been standing. His weight pressed me against cold concrete, his heart pounding against my back, and for a surreal moment, I was hyper-aware of how solid he felt, how expensive his cologne smelled, how his hand splayed protectively over my stomach. "You okay?" he asked, his voice tight. "I've been better." "Me too." He pulled back slightly, checking me for injuries with clinical efficiency. "The parking garage, can you run?" "Yes." "Then run." We burst into the garage, and I saw it, a sleek black Aston Martin that probably cost more than my apartment building. Alexander had me in the passenger seat in seconds, the engine roaring to life just as the robbers spilled into the garage. Tires screeched. Alexander drove like a professional, weaving through traffic with one hand on the wheel and one reaching across to buckle my seatbelt, because apparently even during a high-speed escape, safety mattered to billionaires. "Are they following?" I asked, craning to look behind us. "Not yet. They'll regroup first." He took a sharp turn that had me gripping the door handle. "I need to get you somewhere safe." "Me? You're the one they were trying to kill. And you're the one I just made my hostage on security cameras. Congratulations, Emma Cole. You're now caught up in corporate espionage, attempted murder, and whatever creative charges my enemies dream up." He glanced at me, and despite everything, there was a hint of dark humor in his expression. "Sorry about that." "You're sorry," hysteria bubbled up. "You just kidnapped me." "I saved you," he corrected. "The kidnapping is technically voluntary at this point. You can leave whenever you want." "Really?" "Really?" He pulled the car to a stop in front of a luxury high-rise. "But if you leave now, you're on your own. No protection, no explanation for what happened at the bank, and very possibly a target on your back because those men saw me protecting you. So, your choice." I stared at him, at this stranger who'd burst into my life with gunfire and impossible decisions, who claimed to be protecting me while making me his hostage, who had the audacity to make it my choice whether to trust him. "Who are you really?" I asked. "Right now, I'm the only thing standing between you and people who eliminate loose ends." His expression was serious, all traces of humor gone. "I know this is insane. I know you have no reason to trust me. But Emma, if you go home, they'll find you. They'll use you to get to me, or worse, they'll silence you to cover their tracks. I can protect you, but only if you let me." "For how long?" "Until I neutralize the threat. A few days, maybe a week." "And then?" "Then you get your life back. Safer than it was before, I promise. I'll make sure of it." I looked at the high-rise, then back at the street where normal people were going about their normal Tuesday. I thought about my studio apartment, my cat, my routine. Everything comfortable and predictable and safe. Then I thought about the look in those men's eyes, the bullets tearing through walls, the cold certainty that I'd stumbled into something much bigger than a bank robbery. "Okay," I heard myself say, "but I need to call my roommate and feed my cat." Alexander's expression softened. "I'll have someone take care of both. What's your address?" 20 minutes later, I was standing in a penthouse that belonged in architectural magazines, watching the city sprawl below while Alexander made phone calls in rapid succession. His earlier calm had been replaced by focused intensity, and I was struck by how he'd transformed from the man who joked about voluntary kidnapping to a CEO orchestrating what looked like a small war. "Emma," he appeared beside me, having shed his jacket and rolled up his sleeves. Somehow this made him more dangerous, not less. "I need to brief you on what's happening." "Yes, please." We sat in a living room that probably cost more than I'd earn in my lifetime, and Alexander laid it out. He'd been in negotiations to acquire a tech company, Techdyne. His business partners, the Chen brothers, wanted to split the company and sell it for parts. Alexander wanted to keep it whole, preserve the jobs and the innovation. When he wouldn't back down, they decided to remove him from the equation. "The bank was supposed to look like I'd been caught in a robbery gone wrong," Alexander explained. "Collateral damage, tragic but convenient. but I'd been tipped off by a contact who's helping me build a case against them. So you walked into an ambush. I walked into an ambush with a plan. His eyes met mine. The plan didn't include you. That was improvisation. Terrible improvisation. You made me your hostage. Would you prefer I'd let them shoot you? I'd prefer not to have been involved at all. Fair. He leaned back, and for the first time since the bank, he looked tired. But you are involved now, and I am sorry about that, truly. You didn't ask for any of this. The anger drained out of me. What happens now? Now I keep you safe while my team gathers evidence. The Chen brothers have been sloppy in their panic. They hired outside contractors for the stupid move that creates paper trails. We find those trails, build the case, and take them down. How long? FBI's already investigating based on what I provided them. With what happened today, they can move fast. Maybe 72 hours. 72 hours trapped in a penthouse with a billionaire who fake kidnapped me. This is the weirdest week of my life. Alexander laughed, the sound unexpected and genuine. For what it's worth, it's pretty high on my list too. The first night was awkward. Alexander gave me the master bedroom, insisted, actually, despite my protests. He took one of the guest rooms, assigned security to guard the building, and ordered dinner from a restaurant I'd never afford. You don't have to do this, I said as we ate Thai food on his designer couch, because the formal dining room felt too impersonal. The fancy food, the bedroom, all of it, I'm fine with less. I kidnapped you, he said. The least I can do is feed you well. You keep saying that, but we both know you didn't really kidnap me. Didn't I? His expression was unreadable. You're here against your will, aren't you? I'm here because the alternative is worse. That's just kidnapping with better PR. I threw a spring roll at him. He caught it, surprised, then smiled, a real smile that transformed his face from intimidating to devastating. You just assaulted me with food, he observed. You fake kidnapped me. I think we're even. Something shifted between us in that moment. The tension eased, replaced by something more dangerous, the beginning of actual connection. Over the next 2 days, I learned things about Alexander Sterling that didn't make it into Forbes articles. He'd built his empire from nothing, using money from his first startup to put himself through business school. He worked 16-hour days because he didn't know how to do anything halfway. He'd never been married because he'd never met anyone who understood that his company wasn't just business, it was his way of changing the world. That sounds lonely, I observed on the second evening as we watched the sunset from his balcony. It is, he admitted, but it's also purposeful. I've created 3,000 jobs, funded innovations that improve lives, built something that matters. The loneliness is worth it. Is it, though? He looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes I hadn't expected, uncertainty. I thought so, he said quietly, until you threw a spring roll at me and reminded me that maybe there's more to life than quarterly earnings reports. That's a lot of pressure to put on one spring roll. He laughed, but there was something wistful in it. Tell me about you, Emma Cole. What does a bank teller dream about? Ex-bank teller, I corrected. I'm pretty sure I'm fired after being taken hostage. I'll handle that. Of course you will. You probably own my boss's boss. I sighed. I don't know what I dream about, honestly. I wanted to be a teacher, but student loans are brutal. Banking was supposed to be temporary while I figured things out. That was 3 years ago. What would you teach? Elementary school, 2nd or 3rd grade, when kids still think learning is magic. It is magic, Alexander said. Or it should be, what's stopping you? Reality, money, fear of starting over at 28, I shrugged. The usual things that keep people stuck. What if those things weren't obstacles? He turned to face me fully. What if you could start over without the financial burden? That's a nice fantasy. I don't deal in fantasy, Emma. I deal in solutions. His intensity was back, focused entirely on me. When this is over, let me help you. A grant or a loan, whatever makes you comfortable. Pursue teaching. Stop being stuck. I can't accept that. Why not? Because you don't owe me anything. Because it's too much. Because, I floundered for words. Because people like you don't just help people like me. People like you, he repeated, something sharp in his tone. You mean people who are brave enough to trust a stranger in a crisis? Who throw food at billionaires and call them out for being lonely? Who dream about teaching second graders magic? He moved closer. Emma, in 2 days, you've reminded me that there's more to life than winning. You think I don't owe you for that? Alexander. Let me help you, he said, and it didn't sound like pity or charity. It sounded like he needed this as much as I did. Please. I didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Because suddenly the space between us felt charged with something more complicated than gratitude or obligation. His eyes dropped to my lips, and I realized we'd somehow gotten very close, that his hand was almost touching mine on the balcony railing. This is a bad idea, I whispered. Terrible idea, he agreed, but he didn't move away. You're my captor, protector. I don't even know what to call this situation. Call it something that probably violates several psychological principles about stress bonding. That's not romantic. No, it's not. His hand covered mine. But this, whatever this is between us, it's real. I know it's fast, I know it's complicated, but Emma, I haven't felt this alive in years. You make me want things I'd written off as impossible. Like what? Like someone to eat Thai food with on the couch. Someone who sees me, not just my bank account. Someone who'd throw spring rolls at me and mean it. His thumb traced circles on my wrist. Someone who reminds me why I wanted to build something in the first place, not to win, but to make space for people to thrive. You can't possibly know all that from 2 days. Can't I? His other hand came up to cup my face, gentle despite the calluses I'd noticed from whatever workout routine kept him in that kind of shape. I know you alphabetize your books. I know you can't sleep without background noise. I know you check on your roommate 3 times a day and worry about your cat more than yourself. I know you're brave and funny and kind, and that you're stuck in a life that's too small for who you could become. And you think you can change that. I think you can change that. I think you just needed someone to believe you could. He kissed me, soft at first, questioning, giving me every chance to pull away. I didn't. Instead, I kissed him back, and it felt like falling and flying simultaneously. His hand slid into my hair, mine gripped his shirt, and for a perfect moment, nothing existed except this. Alexander's mouth on mine, his heart pounding against my palm, the city lights twinkling below like we were the only 2 people in the world. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Alexander rested his forehead against mine. Still think this is a bad idea? He asked. The worst, I confirmed, but I'm starting not to care. Good. He kissed me again, deeper this time, walking me backward until I was pressed against the balcony door. Because I'm going to help you become a teacher, whether you accept it gracefully or not. And then I'm going to take you to dinner. A real dinner, where I pick you up like a normal person and no one is shooting at us. That's very presumptuous. I'm a billionaire. Presumptuous is in the job description. I laughed against his mouth, and he smiled, and I realized I'd never been this happy while technically being held hostage. The 3rd day, everything came crashing down. Alexander was on a call with his lawyers when his head of security, Marcus, burst in with news. They'd found the connection, financial records linking the Chen brothers to the hired guns, communications proving premeditation, everything needed for arrests. But there was a problem. They know we're building the case, Marcus said grimly. They're making a move, today, now. Alexander's expression went cold. How did they find out? We're not sure, but they've mobilized. We have maybe an hour before. The power cut out. In the sudden darkness, I heard Alexander swear, heard Marcus barking orders into his radio. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in eerie red. Emma! Alexander was beside me instantly, his hand finding mine in the dark. We need to move. What's happening? They're coming for me, here, now. He was pulling me toward the door, Marcus and 2 other security guards forming up around us. We have a secure vehicle in the basement, but we need to get there before they breach the building. Can't we just call the police? Already done, but they're 10 minutes out and we have maybe 5. We were in the stairwell now, moving fast but controlled. Stay close to me. If shooting starts, you drop and cover, understand? Alexander. Understand. His voice was steel. Yes. We made it to the basement level, without incident. I was starting to hope we'd make it, that this would be another close call with a happy ending. Then the door above us burst open, and men in tactical gear poured into the stairwell. Go, Alexander shoved me toward Marcus. Get her out. What about you? I tried to turn back, but Marcus had me, was dragging me toward the vehicle. I'll be right behind you. Alexander had his gun out. When had he gotten the gun? And was laying down covering fire. Emma, go. Marcus shoved me into an armored SUV, and I watched through the bulletproof window as Alexander fought his way down the stairs, trading shots with men who wanted him dead. It was like watching an action movie, except the fear tearing through me was real, the bullets were real, and the man I'd fallen for in 3 impossible days might actually die. We have to help him. I grabbed for the door handle. He can handle himself, Marcus said, but even he looked worried. Then Alexander was there, sliding into the vehicle, and Marcus hit the gas. We burst out of the garage into daylight just as police sirens converged from all directions. Is it over? I asked, my voice shaking. Alexander pulled me against him, his arms tight around me. It's over. They're contained. The FBI has everything they need. He pulled back to look at me, his hand framing my face. You're safe now, Emma, really safe. And you. Also safe, thanks to you. I didn't do anything. You did everything. He kissed me, hard and desperate and relieved. You gave me a reason to fight harder than I ever have. You reminded me what I was protecting. The next week was a blur of statements, debriefings, and news coverage. The Chen brothers were arrested, their assets frozen, and Alexander's acquisition went through. Techdyne would stay whole, the jobs would be saved, and Alexander Sterling's reputation as a ruthless but ethical businessman was cemented. Through it all, Alexander kept his promise. He arranged for my safety, dealt with my employment situation. Turned out I wasn't fired, and the bank was very apologetic about the whole hostage situation and quietly set up a fund in my name for teaching credentials. It's not charity, he insisted when I tried to refuse. It's restitution for trauma. Also, it's selfish. I'm investing in the teacher who's going to shape future minds. That's good business. You're impossible. I'm determined. He pulled me close, and I was still getting used to how natural this felt, how right. I told you I'd take you to dinner, tonight, somewhere nice where no one shoots at us. That's a low bar. I'm starting simple, working my way up to grand gestures. Dinner was at a rooftop restaurant with a view of the city where we'd met during chaos. Alexander wore another expensive suit. I wore a dress I'd bought specifically for this, and we talked like normal people on a normal date, except nothing about us was normal. So, I said over dessert, how does this work? The billionaire and the bank teller. Former bank teller, he corrected. Future teacher, and I think it works however we want it to work. That's not an answer. Okay, real answer. He took my hand across the table. I want to date you properly, see where this goes without the adrenaline and the danger. I want to learn all the things I don't know about you yet. I want to support your dreams while you help me remember mine. He paused. I want to see if what we found in those 3 days was real or just circumstance. And if it was just circumstance, then we'll have had a hell of a story to tell. He squeezed my hand. But Emma, I don't think it was circumstance. I think I took you hostage and ended up being the one captured. That's very smooth. I've had a week to practice that line. I laughed, and he smiled, and the city sparkled below us like a promise. 6 months later, I started my teaching credential program. Alexander footed the bill despite my protests and showed up to my first day with flowers like a proud parent. My students loved the field trips to his company's innovation labs. My roommate loved the security upgrade on our apartment. My cat loved the expensive treats Alexander bought him. And I loved the man who'd burst into my life during a robbery that wasn't a robbery, who'd made me his hostage and then set me free, who'd seen potential in me that I'd stopped seeing in myself. "You know," I said one evening as we cooked dinner together in his penthouse kitchen, "our routine now, this domestic normalcy that somehow fit. I should probably forgive you for kidnapping me." "Probably." Alexander slid his arms around me from behind, his chin resting on my shoulder. "After 6 months, I think I've earned full forgiveness. You fake kidnapped me. To save your life. You could have just told me to run. Where's the romance in that?" I turned in his arms, looking up at this man who'd changed everything. "You're right. Much more romantic to take me hostage while people shoot at us." "I thought so." He kissed me softly. "Best worst decision I ever made." "What, the kidnapping or falling for me?" "Both, definitely both." He pulled me closer. "Though for the record, I fell for you the moment you threw that spring roll at me. The kidnapping just gave me an excuse to keep you." "That's very possessive." "I'm a billionaire. Possessive is." "In the job description, I know." I kissed him, long and deep and perfect. "Lucky for you, I'm pretty possessive too. I'm keeping you, Alexander Sterling, hostage situation or not." "Is that a threat, Miss Cole?" "It's a promise, Mr. Sterling." He swept me up, carrying me toward the bedroom while I laughed. "In that case, I surrender. Take me hostage. I'm all yours." And he was. The billionaire who'd saved me by making me his captive, who'd seen me when I'd forgotten to see myself, who'd turned the worst day of my life into the beginning of our story. I'd been his hostage for 3 days. But he'd been mine from the very first moment. And neither of us was letting go. Thank you for joining me for The Billionaire's Hostage. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more thrilling romance stories. Your comments mean the world to me. Let me know what you thought and what kind of stories you'd like to see next. Until next time, keep reading and stay mysterious.